Emmerson Mnangagwa is under pressure to retire General Valerio Sibanda, who recently turned 70. We have seen in the past days Mnangagwa going after General Matanga, who happens to be a Chiwenga loyalist, who was the Commissioner General of the police, and he has been removed. And the reasons given by Nick Mangwana on social media, as he reported, was that he had reached retirement age. And this has actually opened up a can of worms, as many people now are beginning to challenge the very issue of retirement, considering that the very man who is supposed to be taking over from Matanga happens to be older than Matanga himself. And this is quite so amazing. And people have started to bring in issues that are like, for example, the issue of Luke Malava. Luke Malava turned 70 and Mnangagwa extended his term. And yet he was not supposed to have extended the term of the Chief Justice. He brought the Chief Justice behind the back doors because he knew what Malava represents, especially when it comes to the rigging of elections in Zimbabwe. So now people are talking about many people in ZANU-PF, many people in other structures that are getting there. Jairus reports that the president of ZANU-PF, Mnangagwa, is expected to retire his relative and commander of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, Philip Valerio Sibanda, who turned 70 on the 24th of December. In the past, Mnangagwa refused to retire his enabler, Luke Malava, who is now 73. Right. This exactly is what we are talking about. So the pressure continues to mount. Mnangagwa, now that he retired somebody who was 60 or 62, somewhere there, what about somebody who is now 70? What should happen? Should this one remain on? Should this one be removed? How old is this one? What is the difference with Matanga, who was even younger? So some of the political decisions and moves that Mnangagwa does, they tend to expose him at the end of the day. They expose his hypocrisy. They expose quite a lot about him and how he is carrying himself as the leader of the country. Because injustice, dishonesty, corruption, and quite a lot, these are some of the things that continue to be observed by people when we look at what is happening in Zimbabwe, which is quite very sad and very, very pathetic. So now Mnangagwa will have to make a decision of retiring Philip Sibanda, who has turned 70 right this December. So we are watching the space to see how Mnangagwa is going to handle this. Some rumors have been making rounds that Mnangagwa might want to have Valerio as his vice president. We don't know what is going to be happening. But we are watching the space to see what eventually is going to be the reality on the ground. But the dishonesty of ZANU-PF continues to leave them in the open, and everyone now is able to see that Mnangagwa is playing political games. Mnangagwa is not following the rule of law. Mnangagwa is not respecting the constitution of the land. Mnangagwa is doing things according to his own ways and means. And even in ZANU-PF itself, he continues to breach the constitution of ZANU-PF. So the idea of the 2030 and the Mafidi that is forcing down the throats of ZANU-PF people as well as Zimbabwean people is really going to become a big issue that would, if not careful, end up turning against him. Many people in ZANU-PF are coming out and beginning to speak against Mnangagwa's continuity. Nobody really would celebrate the continuity of Mnangagwa owing to the failures and, of course, you know, the level of corruption that Mnangagwa has washed and he has done nothing about, being done by the people that he appoints into these positions of responsibility. So what we are looking at now is a scenario where Philip Valerio Sibanda will have to be leaving, and we don't know whether Mnangagwa is ready to do that, because he knows that the guy is his relative, and the guy could have been the right person at the right time to be leading the army, where Mnangagwa's dictatorship is deeply entrenched. So he might want to have somebody who supports him with the gun, knowing that whatever he's doing against the Zimbabwean people may cause an uprising at any point in time in Zimbabwe. He would want a backup, especially with somebody that he trusts. So we are not sure now whether Mnangagwa will be ready to do that. But anyway, Mnangagwa can never be forced to do anything by anybody because he's an arrogant leader. He continues to tell himself that he can do what he wants and nobody does anything about it. But he must also continue to remember that times are changing. He is also becoming unpopular in ZANU-PF. We are beginning to see people in ZANU-PF coming out, lambasting him publicly, and even calling for his removal. So he should also be watching out. That's a sign, it's a red flag that shows that things are changing, and he may not continue to enjoy the very same liberty and freedom that he used to have of doing what he wants, no matter how wrong whatever that he wants to do is. So let's continue to be praying for the nation of Zimbabwe. As intercessors, we are praying and believing our God, that God is in it. Our freedom is coming, whether ZANU-PF is ready for it or not. Our fight is on. We are taking the fight to the doorstep of Mnangagwa. We are watching the space to see how far he's going to continue playing political games, especially with the positions that are of the security nature, because this is the real threat to his Mafidi dynasty, which he thinks he is going to just get on a silver platter. But it is already showing signs that all is not well, right inside ZANU-PF itself, as well as even within Lacoste as a faction that is known to be a Mnangagwa faction. A lot of people in the faction itself are jumping ship, with some beginning to openly criticize the plans and the moves that Mnangagwa makes. So it's going to be interesting, the season that we are entering right here. We are entering a season where more fights are possible, and fights that are really going to become very devastating and fatal. That might end up not being a very good thing for Emmerson Mnangagwa at the end of the day. But anyway, whatever that happens to ZANU-PF or to Mnangagwa, I don't think we care as Zimbabwean people, because we are sick and tired of the oppression by these people. We are praying that the day for liberty for Zimbabwe must arrive, and God is watching over the nation of Zimbabwe. He answers our prayers, and our freedom is coming. Thank you so much for joining me on the show, family. Remain blessed till we meet again in the upcoming shows. Shalom.